Matt at MDW GuitarWorks again, and today we're going to be starting on an electric guitar. It's not going to be entirely from scratch. I'm actually building it around a neck that I already have. Here, let me grab it for you. It's this nice Fender style aftermarket guitar neck that somebody gave me, and I'm going to build a guitar around it. So I've just been cleaning up my new shop. It's not exactly my new shop, it's just new to me because it's been full of junk and now it's more usable. So to get started, I'm going to use this guitar here, my Starry Night that I did a few years back, and I'm going to use that as the basis for the shape. The reason for that is, number one, I like the shape of this guitar, but number two, I also have a case that'll fit this. So if I build the guitar body based off of this, then it's going to fit in the case that I got for it. So that's the logic behind that. I'm just drawing around the guitar here. Let me see. How am I going to do this? Alright, that's a nice snug little line up there. And now I'm not going to use cutaway portions here. I'm just going to draw around the guitar itself. And we're using kind of what you would call a sandwich method of building a guitar body, solid body guitar body. We're going to cut multiple goes of this out of this good stocky, stout, whatever, birch ply. And since we're basing it off of the SG, it's going to be fairly thin. So I'm going to make 2 goes out of this and 2 goes out of some 1/4 inch. That's going to be top and bottom. So let's grab a marker, and not this marker. See, now I don't know where everything is quite yet. There it is. It's just a regular old black Sharpie. Alright. Looking down straight at it, so my line is going to be pretty consistent here. Alright. Halfway around. Yep. If we're a little tiny bit oversized, it should still work, but I'm going to test this out in the case as we go, just to make sure that I don't wind up overshooting my measurements and making something too big to fit in the case that I got. Because I'm all about being practical. Okay. So notice I'm going to put this tool right back where I got it. See how long that lasts. Alright, so I just got this propped up on a little stool, so it's not very substantial. But what do we got here? Alright, I don't know how well you can see that, but I just drew a line around the guitar that I've got. So I'm going to connect these lines here. I'll still keep a little curve to it. I might freehand it a little bit. Get a little mechanical pencil action going here. And continue the curve. curve. Actually, you know what? I'm going to draw a straight line connecting where the two horns came up. And I'll need my straight edge to do that. And now I just remembered how the SG, even though it looks vaguely symmetrical, it's not really symmetrical. And I'm realizing that here, that the horns don't exactly match. The shape of an SG is a little bit top heavy, but aesthetically it all hangs together. It's my favorite guitar of all, and I love the shape of it. But so let's see here. All right. Thinking the curves on the bottom end of the SG are actually a little tighter than on the upper side. So, I don't know. I'm just going to freehand here a little bit. See if I can get settled on something that doesn't offend my eyes too much. Because we don't want to offend my eyes. They're very sensitive and delicate. Alright. And so, am I happy with that? What I want to... Not sure. This was a thought that I had that I hadn't thought all the way through. And, you know, I could just go with the regular SG shape, you know. But there again, I don't want it to look like I'm trying to go for an SG, you know. SG is a pretty distinctive shape, and I'm putting a Fender style neck in it, and that's already gonna introduce something weird, so I don't want it to look like an SG necessarily. I want it to look more like a conventional acoustic guitar, in this case kind of a smaller body, sort of like a parlor size or even smaller acoustic guitar. And I just wanted to go by the SG pattern in order to use that case. Honestly, I could make it shaped any way I want. I could make it flying V shaped if I want. I'm not sure I want to do that because I don't have a whole lot of use for a flying V shaped guitar. It's just not the kind of dude I am. So I'm just gonna stare at this for a little bit and see if it grows on me, or if I can come up with any better thoughts. Oh, I didn't see you there. Now, well, I cut this out roughly to shape. It's basically where it needs to be, but I'm going to pretty up the line with the belt sander. And I'm going to pay close attention to this one because I'm going to use this as a template for my router for the other pieces. case for my SG. Open it up, plop it in there, and I can already tell we are just a little bit snug. Alright, so that will never do. Figure out where it fits best, and then zing a little bit off the contours to try to make it fit. Easier to do this now while it's just one piece of plywood than try to make your guitar shape smaller while it's all done. That's no good. Alright. So, I can see it's mostly hitting around here. See, this inside edge seems like it's okay, but need to take down curve just off the top about here by a teensy bit. Probably just hit that with a belt sander. There seems to be the same thing going on up here, down here. Knock a little bit off down here. Continue it all the way into the waist. Alright, so bottom seems okay. Actually, I might want to. Well, alright, I'm at a stopping point here. I went ahead with a few steps, and I'll show you pictures of the steps. It was easier to take pictures as I went than stop and set up the camera and video what I'm doing, and then have you listen to the router going, because I've been doing a lot of routing. Thanks again, Keith. That's a cool router. Although I have figured that I will probably eventually need to invest in a heftier router if I'm going to do more of these layups like this, because the little battery operated one I've got doesn't like to go through 1/2-inch plywood in one pass. So got to get a heftier one to do that. I have to be real gentle with the one I got, but it worked. It did exactly what it needed to do. And so what I've done here is laid everything up. I got 2 layers of 1/2-inch and 2 layers of 1/4 inch front and back, and each layer had its own different routing pattern. They're all basically cut out hollow, but one of them has a neck pocket, the other one doesn't. And so each slice in the sandwich is just a little bit different. I think I got pictures of everything. I'm just letting the glue set up right now. So you can see back here, there's an instrument panel for getting all the stuff. And this is a, what you'd call, I guess, a semi-hollow. It does have a block inside here that the bridge will get screwed down to, and it's got a block that the neck gets attached. So next step I'm going to do as soon as the glue is good and firmed up is I'm going to sand around the edges just to get everything nice and smooth, and then I'm going to fill in some of these voids. Now, I grabbed the wood at Home Depot that I thought was what I remembered. It was something similar to furniture grade birch ply. It ended up being something else. I'm not sure exactly what I got, but it's a little bit dry and a little bit chippy. So I got some blowout on at least one of these layers as I was sawing, and that's going to have to get filled in. So once I've sanded it smooth, I'm going to fill in the voids with Bondo and sand it again. And once that's all done, I'm going to put a beveled edge on the front and back. So it should be nice and smooth, just look like it grew that way. So, alright. Checking here, this glue looks about ready to hit it with the belt sander. So that's what I'm going to do next. Well, okay then. Looks like it's showtime at the W Dome. So, as you can tell, I got it all put together and it plays. I got a few pictures to show you the process. I'm calling this one Lucky because, well, it's pretty and green, and I'm also lucky that everything worked out because this was basically my next to my first time doing a body from scratch. Started from how to make a neck jig to fit a Fender style neck. So that was a piece of plywood with a pocket cut out the right size, and it got to be approximately the right size. I don't think I'll be using that jig again because there's a little bit of play in this neck, and it's screwed down secure now, so I wouldn't worry about that. But future reference, I'm going to make a slightly tighter neck pocket. Let's see. I cut the exterior layers. As you can see, I sandwiched this together out of several sheets of plywood, pieces of plywood cut out to shape, and also front and back thinner plywood. It's not an acoustic instrument, so I could use plywood. That's okay. I wanted to make it semi-hollow, so it's fairly light, but you know, not accounting for acoustics. This isn't, although this does make a reasonable amount of sound not plugged in, but you wouldn't want to listen to it like more than 5 feet away. As you can tell, I got a single coil pickup on here, kind of a telly style pickup. 2 controls. I got the brightness rolled in, but not quite all the way. And that's all the way down. It gets considerably brighter. So considering this is in neck pickup position, it gets a pretty good amount of brightness. Don't have a lot of bending in this. I got acoustic strings on here, so they're a little heavy, but that's kind of what I usually play on anyway. So let me see that. Checks his notes. Then took the layers that I built up, cut the interiors out. And each layer of the sandwich had slightly different interior cutouts. The top 1/4 inch and the next one had the pocket cut out, and then the next layers after that didn't have the pocket cut out, so it would sit down in there and I could screw through the back here. See, nice little Fender style neck plate there. I think it even says it says Squire on it. Guess I cannibalized that off an old Squire guitar. Let's see. Interiors. I glued up the layers, obviously. And the wood that I grabbed this stuff I thought was what I remember was kind of Baltic birch type of stuff that I'm used to working on in my dad's old shop. And I know how that works. Well, this stuff ended up being stuff that's closer to Luan. It's a little inferior grade. It looks the same, but it was real chippy. And so when I went around with the router, it would knock voids out of the plywood, so I was left with a little Bondo work. So I had to go around the edges with the Bondo and then sand that down and get it all nice and uniform. Still got a couple little dings that only I'll notice, but they bug me. So lesson learned. Be careful when you're picking out your wood at Home Depot. Let's see. Had to, of course, drill the holes for all the controls for the tone and volume for the pickup. I didn't make a template to go by for future reference because I was just playing it by ear. I guess I could make one for future reference, but I didn't this time. And I started out, I had a, what do they call, a tune-o-matic Gibson style bridge and tailpiece, and because I miscalculated, the tailpiece went through two big holes that you'd sink the little thing down so you could adjust it, and one of the legs of the tailpiece kind of ran off the block so it wouldn't sit securely. So I had it all strung up with the pretty Gibson tailpiece on there, and some of it started pulling up, and I'm like, wasn't much I could do about it because half of the post was sitting in 1/4-inch plywood. There's nothing for it to grab onto. So I took it out, plugged up those holes, evened it up, touched up the paint because I had already painted it by that point, and replaced it with, this is the, I guess you'd call it the chassis or the base piece from a Fender style bridge. I took all the little bridge pieces out, and I'm just using the little L-shaped thing as a tailpiece, and it works just fine. It's got the little holes for the strings to go through, and you're all cool. So let's see, then I roughly assembled everything, and I checked to see if it would fit in the case, and it does. It fits like a charm. So it's just a side benefit. I already had the neck, so I built this body around a Fender neck, and I already had a Gibson SG style gator case, and it fits like a charm in there. Let's see. Now, well, yeah, then I wired it up. I hate wiring. I legit hate wiring, but the more I do it, the better I get at it, and the quicker I get at it, so the less time I have to spend doing it. So I guess I don't hate it any less, it just goes faster, so I hate it for less time. So got it wired up, and I made little panels to go in the back to cover up my handiwork, but still provide access. If I ever wanted to go in and rewire the pickup, replace the pickup, I'm fine in there. You know, later on I could put a different pickup in there, or I could route it for a second pickup or whatever. We'll see. So then I put it all back together and tested it out and made sure all my wiring worked, which I can't guarantee works all the time on the first try. This one took about 3 times, because one thing I noticed, make sure if you got a wiring diagram, follow that sucker to the T. And if the diagram shows your pots pointing a certain direction, their lugs are pointing a certain direction, turn them around that way so you're working exactly off your wiring diagram. And if your, say your tone pot comes with the capacitor going from one lug to the chassis of the pot, and it's on the wrong lug, move it, okay? Because I'm sure that the configuration would work just fine the way they send it to you, but that's not how you're wiring it if that's not what's in your wiring diagram. So change that cap to go to the lug that your diagram says. And you'll find when you're looking online for wiring diagrams, they're all over the place, and you're gonna have to settle on one that works for you. I've got one that worked for me, because this is as simple as you can get. It's, well, no, you can get simpler than this, but this is one pickup going to one volume, one tone, straight to the jack. But of course there's a lot more configurations you can use. You can have 2 pickups with 2 controls, you can have 4 controls, you can have a switch in there, you can have a split coil in there, any number of things. I've seen some, you look inside this guitar, it looks like the damn space shuttle. So I mean, that's an old reference, isn't it? Yeah, I dated myself. So anyway, that's it, and it's all playing nicely. And I was was surprised. I didn't need to do hardly any setup on this. That's one of the reasons I call this one lucky, because when I put it together, strung everything up, not accounting for the tailpiece I had to replace, that was unlucky, but everything was basically set up the way I would play it. So that was lucky. I'm sheer dumb luck. I'm not that good. So anyway, that's lucky, and that's all I got to say about that. So now that I'm done with this, I got room to work on my next project. It's going to be an Irish bouzouki. I've got the parts on order, they're on their way. I'm not going to get much. I might cut out the body parts. Body parts sounds kind of weird, but I might cut them out, but I'm not going to go any farther than that until I get the neck, because, well, I've learned that lesson. But I got this template here that I just finished making, and the process behind how I got the shape and how I transferred that shape from what I got, I'm going to go over in my next video. So for now, I'm going to clean up and get ready for the next project. So until next time, it's Matt from MDW GuitarWorks. I'll be talking at you soon.